Alright, so welcome to the channel. Welcome to this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is going to be a continuation of my previous videos where we're gonna, work on resin kits and kind of go through what to do to prep them, to pin them, to handle them with care, and at least get them up to painting ready conditions. Basically, I'm doing a live stream, and for the guys on YouTube, you're watching like a highlighted portion of the live stream. My intention is to teach you guys, to show you, kind of showcase models, kind of teach you how to prep a model, kind of show you the beauty of some of these models, and try to get more people to invest in the model kit hobby, and get over that intimidation, get over that intimidation level, basically, because the model that I have for you tonight has a huge intimidation level. Even for me, when I look at this, I'm like, I'm completely overwhelmed by the beauty, the complexity, the detail of this model. It's another Predator model by Narin. I believe this is 1/4 scale. It's big. It's chunky. It's got an action pose. It's got a story. It's got weapons. It's got dreads to dreadlocks to pin to the head, to the back of the head. It's got these teeth and tusks that have to be attached to the model. It's all, this is like a step up to the model that we did last video, which was, intended for beginners. This is just a whole different level. Smaller parts mean more fiddling around, smaller pinning, which can be scary because you're drilling tiny little holes and tiny little parts. So, we really want to, go step by step, do it carefully, do it right, make sure that we don't screw up a model like this. A model like this is expensive. I believe it's $270 to $300 plus shipping. Don't remember if I got a discount on it or not, but it's an expensive model nonetheless. It comes unpainted, so you have to invest quite some time into it, and better do it right than half-assed, basically. And a model like this is intended to be displayed. I bought this, I think, a month and a half ago. It arrived here quickly. Were no issues. There was like a tiny little piece that chipped off, but that's easily repaired with a little bit of clay or putty or whatever. It's not a big deal. What happened is I showcased the model. I unboxed the model during one of my live streams. I might upload that portion of the stream to YouTube, if it's YouTube worthy, I would say. But what happens, and what happens a lot with other modelers and collectors, we unbox the statue, we look at the parts, we look how beautiful it is, we're absolutely blown away by the quality, and then we put it back in the box, and then it sits there. And that is just a shame. That shouldn't happen. What we should be doing is we should unbox it and then prep the model, so that we can at least display it unpainted or whatever. You can prime it and display it. That's what I actually do a lot. Is I prep a model, prime it, and then put it behind me or on a shelf or something like that. And every day that I look at it, I'm like, okay, that'll be interesting for a new video, for a new project, for a new live stream or whatever. And I try to kind of plan out when to do what kind of a project. It never works out the way I think it will, but at least I'm triggered by seeing the model standing on a shelf, looking at the beauty of the model, and that'll motivate me more to pick it up and start painting it. At least that works for me. Because if you look at the model right now, it's absolutely beautiful. The detail is absolutely amazing. It would just be a shame to just, you know, let it sit in a box somewhere undisplayed. And if you look at this model, it's I mean, this is a completely different level down than the previous model that we did a video on. It's so much bigger. It's heavier. It's got an action pose. It's I think looking at this model from Narin, this might be one of his best models that I've seen. There are a couple, you know, top 3 contenders, I would say, but this comes very, very close to being one of his best models. This is one of the model kits that needs a little bit of work. You can see that in between the neck and the head there is a seam line, so we're gonna have to fill it up with some putty or some clay. That I do intend to do a video on how to do that, how to approach that, because you have to take into consideration that if you're gonna have to touch up seam lines, you're probably ending up gluing the parts together, because otherwise the touching up will not turn out the way it should basically. And I've done some models where I did some touch-up work and then left the parts unglued, and it's just very fragile when you keep it unglued. So you probably want to glue it and then touch it up with clay or putty work or epoxy resin, whatever you prefer. Gonna do a video on that later on. It's something you have to prepare for. It's something you have to mentally be ready for. But yeah, that's one thing with this kit. It's gonna need a little bit of work, especially with the teeth, especially with the dreads. As you can see, you have to individually put them on the back of the head. So this is definitely a step up to our last model that we showed. But let's go over some of these details. Kind of show you guys the quality of the kit. This is his weapon. There's also one of these things that's different from the other model that we did. It's gonna need gluing. It's gonna need pinning. If you're doing this for a client, you're gonna have to take shipping into consideration. So it's gonna be interesting. I would probably pin this, but as you can see, there's not a lot of surface area, so that's a challenging pin to make. You could glue it like this, but I would say that the bond between the two parts would not be as solid as when you're using a pin. But the quality of this is just out of this world. If you look at like the wrapping around the axe handle, it looks like fabric. It's wrinkled. It's got all of this detail, which would, create the perfect kind of the surface to make it look like fabric as well, with washes and stuff like that when you paint it, and then it flows over into this. I would say this would be bone. You could go metal, but I think this is intended to be bone. So that looks very interesting. And then you have like this amazingly carved top handle. And then it almost looks like bone again, like a bone axe. You could go bone or stone, I would say. It doesn't look like it's a metal material. It looks like it's actually something from nature. You can see all these details here. It's used. It's damaged. Like, as in sculpted damage, not actual damage, but like you can see that there's age to the weapon. It's been used in battle. It's cracked a little here, and that's amazing detail on the other side as well. It's got chipping, sculpted chipping. You can see that this axe has seen some battle, and then the metallic kind of piece that's holding the weapon attached to the handle. And you really gotta give it credit to Narin for being so detailed with the sculpting. This guy is just amazing, and you gotta wonder, like, does he plan the concept as an entire piece? Does he sculpt from his imagination, or does he plan it out? Or, that's really something I wonder about. Is that, like, does he know what he's gonna sculpt before he's gonna sculpt it, or does he just, take a piece of clay and then go with it? I don't know. It's just amazing. Like, some of these concepts are just out of this world. And then, like, one of the more beautiful parts about this model that I think is, like, he's got these threads or wire or rope holding his armor around his leg. And if you look at how detailed that wire is, that thread, every little piece is sculpted. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. If you look at the detail, that's insane. That's insane. As you can see, it needs a little bit of cleaning. The way I would clean up a cast like this, you can see some flashing. It's like a grainy texture that's from the casting process, and it needs to be cleaned with like soap. And what I would do is I would put this in a bucket of soap and let it sit a little bit, and then take a soft toothbrush and then gently clean the parts, hopefully removing the flash. Like, for example, here there's low focus. There is a little bit of a residue from the casting process which needs to be cleaned. But if you look at that amazing detail, here is the shiny stuff is, I think that's mold remover or something like that, which needs to be cleaned, otherwise our paint will not stick to the model. So that's why we also have to clean our models. It's the detail, like the like all of these wrinkles, and that skin detail is amazing. And then we go to the front, he's got scars and these little bumps, again like crocodile or lizard skin, really giving that feel that the predator is still like a reptilian kind of race. And here, this is one of the things that I like about this model, is that his feet or his legs have different type of armor, so you could kind of mix up your paint jobs. Like you could go a little bit of with a little bit of a metal look for the one leg, and then I think this would be perfect in bone, I don't know, or wood. You can mix it up, make it an interesting sculpt. And then again we have these beautiful threads, these wires holding his armor in place. And then underneath that wire is this fabric, and then these almost like these pins that attach all of these parts together. There's so much. You gotta think that this was planned out. Like this was. You have to really think about what you're building, otherwise it doesn't look real. And this just looks like all of these parts have been considered. Like the thread is holding the armor in place. The fabric is protecting the leg from that rough material. Then the pins hold the straps in place, almost like nails keeping two materials together. Then again, the foot, it's got so much skin detail, all these wrinkles and all these little areas here. Then you have like his dew claw. Come to think of it, a predator has 6 toes. Well, if you consider this a toe, but with dogs, for example, they have like an extra claw that they don't really use, which is called a dew claw. Some breeds have them removed because they don't use it. They can hurt themselves. But yeah, like again with all of this skin detail, all of the wrinkling. We go to the arms. Here again with the straps, so that's super consistent. It's just beautiful, man. Like also like I kind of like the detail where there's thought put into when you're using rope on bare skin, that's gonna cut your skin. So the fact that he sculpted fabric underneath that means that he thought about, okay, I want to do wire. I want to have that wire hold the armor around his arm. But he put thoughts into it, thinking that, okay, but wire is going to cut his skin, so he needs to protect himself from that wire. So he put fabric underneath, and the fabric's going to protect his skin. That's like again, like I said, like would he be planning this out? Would he be doing concept artwork? Does he think about it before he's gonna sculpt it, or is he gonna sculpt and then figure it out along the way? I really wonder what's going on in a sculptor's mind when they create these beautiful pieces of art. Like again, his arm is full of scars and wrinkles and veins. Again with the reptilian skin, and this arm has the hand attached. This armor looks consistent. And here he went with a different kind of thing, where he used like pieces of metal. Again, technically, you would think that this would also need some fabric underneath to protect his skin from being cut open by metal, metal plates. I would say these are almost like metal plates, but like I like how different, how different it is from this. Really gives that impression that he put his armor together like as he progressed in life. Like he would go out on a mission to hunt something, and then he would put a new piece of armor on his body, and then the next adventure that he would go on, he would acquire another piece of armor, and really kind of not have uniform armor pieces basically. So I kind of like that aspect of this sculpture. And again, like the sculpting work on this is insanely beautiful. I mean, this is one of the best pieces that I've seen from Narin so far. I mean, all of his pieces are amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm blown away by all of his pieces, even his earlier work, even his more simple sculptures are even still better than like most other sculptures, I would say. Like there's no doubt in my mind he's the best Predator sculptor, and maybe even just sculptor in general. But like this piece just goes so deep into detail. Like it's maybe because most of his work is 1/6 scale and this is 1/4. I would say it's close to 1/4 scale. I don't know how to kind of measure something like that, because if you're in the collecting business, if you're in the modeling business, for each company, each sculpture, they say it's 1/6 or 1/4 scale, but kind of never really. You put the two 1/4 scale pieces together and they never match up. So it's really hard to kind of measure what scale it really is. But this is close to 1/4 scale. I've got this work in progress, Machika no Guchi, which is 1/4 scale, and I would say that a Predator head is bigger than her head, so I would say this is 1/4 scale. But yeah, like let me focus the camera. Focus. Kind of fixed the camera issue. Previously, in my previous videos, you could see that whenever I was touching or handling the camera, all of these bits and bobs on the screen would would show up, and I would have like these menu items on the screen. I kind of finally fixed that, so whenever I'm handling the camera or using the focus, it's not going to show all of these menu parts and stuff. So the screen is a little bit cleaner now, so that's good. And while we're talking about fixing issues on the screen, real fast. There we go. Okay, so the face, again, super detailed. If you look at his mouth, he's got an open mouth, he's kind of screaming. If you look at the inside, how detailed that is, you can see muscle, you can see his mandible fleshy bits, I would say. Veiny veins. The inner mouth, they kind of have both like an inner and an outer mouth, I would say. It's gonna be interesting to paint this. Intimidating, that's why I said, like, I talked about the intimidation factor of a sculpt like this, and now you can really see, like, this is intimidating. This is like something you have to like mentally prepare for. Like, am I gonna, take that jump and start working on this, because you don't want to screw it up, I would say. And I've done that. I've started the project, and then halfway through I was like, this is not working for me. I need to start over. And then when you have to strip a model, it never really works the way you think it works. Like, you see all these YouTubers talk about, yeah, I'm gonna strip my model and using this and this, and then I'm going on the internet and I'm trying to find the product, and then I'm discovering that in my country the product is not available, and I can't buy it from another country because there's import laws, and it's because it's like a cleaning solution or an industrial cleaning solution. It's on the banned list, and you have to be a company in order to buy it, and then I don't have access to that same kind of material. So stripping a model, for some people, for like you guys in America, you guys have it like, you guys have access to everything. It doesn't matter if you're a company or you're like just a regular person. You just walk into a Walmart and you have like a ton of products to choose from. We here in the Netherlands, and probably most other European countries, do not have that luxury. There are all sorts of laws. I cannot even import a spraying can because it's considered to be a flammable product, or it's dangerous to ship it. So it's on the ban list, and I can't get it unless I find a supplier here in the Netherlands or somewhere close to the Netherlands who's shipping it. But most of the time I'm not that lucky, so I'm bound to the products that are available here. And most of the time that means nail polish remover. And nail polish remover, depending on the brand, can be a hit or miss. And I've had great successes with certain brands, and then I have had failures with other brands and pieces. And it also depends on the brand, the type of paint that you've used. So it can be difficult. But so that's why, like, when you start a project like this, when you finally took that step to paint something like this, you really have to like be confident about, okay, this is how am I this is how I'm going about it. This is the kind of the type of paint I'm gonna use. These are the colors I'm gonna use. Look up references from from other painters. What have they been doing? How have they been going about the painting process? Have they used a brush or an airbrush? I do not use an airbrush, so I kind of look at other paint jobs and look like, okay, that's interesting how they've done that. How can I kind of take that and make it my own and kind of mimic that in my own kind of way. But like, yeah, you can this sculpt really just puts that pressure on, I would say. Like, other sculptures are much more straightforward, but like the body, this is like the part where I get intimidated. If you look at the waist, it's filled with trophies. All of these trophies are held together by rope, which, if you want to make it look interesting, you want to give that a different color than the skulls. And then he's got fabric right here. That's like cloth fabric. Then you've got metal parts, or like whatever you want to paint this as. I would say this is kind of... It almost looks like bone as well. Doesn't look like metal, but these pins are definitely metal. But this looks like it's carved from nature, I would say. I know this doesn't look like a metal armor piece, but you could go that way if you wanted to. Then there's more fabric here, cloth fabric. Then there's this huge skull. Then again, you've got all of this wire work holding the pieces together. And then here's the interesting parts. There's like this bone belt, which got all of these attachment again attached with rope, and there's another trophy kind of necklace hanging off of it. Then again, underneath that, there's like a metal. This is definitely metal armor-ish type structure. Then underneath that, there's fabric again, like cloth fabric, like weathered cloth fabric. And then on top of that, there's another piece of armor, which is completely different material than that kind of material. As you can see, there's a difference. This almost looks like it's manufactured at the Predator armory, I would say. And then this is like kind of carved, or I don't know, weathered, or it's used, it's broken, it's... Like I said, it's shaped in nature, I would say. And there's a fabric, and then there's another type of fabric right here. Then there is like a beads running around another piece of metal. And it's almost like his waist is telling his journey. His waist is telling the story of all these different hunts and adventures that he went on. Like again, there's trophies hanging off of it, teeth from monsters, animals. Like again, if I look at this, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to paint this at some point. And as a painter, I do not want to hire another painter to do this for me. I want to paint this, learn from it, put myself to the test. Can I do this? Can I make this look good? And on the other hand, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is gonna... If I don't want to, mess it up. Like, if you look at this, it's it's almost like 100% fit. It might need a little bit of a putty work, but then again, like if this were for a client, I would probably leave it like this and then paint it, and then kind of these overlapping pieces create shadows, so you wouldn't really see it like a seam line. It would be more like a natural transition between his waist, this fabric, and then his skin. So I wouldn't personally glue this if this were for a client. Maybe I'm not even gonna glue this for myself. I don't know. It's a very big and heavy piece. If I were ever to like move my stuff around, a big piece like this might be easier not to glue parts together. For a 1/6 scale, that will be a completely different story, but because this is such a bigger scale, but maybe we'll go and look at that later in the stream, because I do intend to start working on this tonight. At least get some groundwork going, get some pinning, and kind of prep this model so it can be displayed at least unpainted, and see where we go from there. Like if we move up the upper body, you can see he's been in fights, he's got scars, then again all of this, the skin has been wrinkled, it's detailed as all hell. And then again, huge scars. He's a fighter. And then we move up to the shoulder. You can see there's this feather, kind of feather material, I would say. Make it interesting. And it is wrapped all around, and then there's like these tiny little bones, tiny little trophies, held together by wire again, like all of this detail. And then on his other shoulder there's a leather strap, I would say. Almost like a crocodile leatherish type material. So again, like different materials for different sides of his body. Again, kind of telling a story that as he progressed in life, he took bits and pieces and put his armor together as he went along. This was like he went to an armory or a predator shop and picked out a costume. Basically, he just... That's why, that's what I said. Like, this piece tells a story, and if you go really deep into it, you can see the story. Like his waist, all of these different layers of materials, trophies, and how it's all held together. It tells a story, and that's important. And that's why I would really, really take my time painting a statue like this, because you want to do it right. You want to amplify the sculpt. You want to make sure that all these different pieces come to life and really do the sculpt justice, basically. And when somebody looks at this and says, oh my god, that's like beautiful, you want to really, if you display it for somebody, if you show it somebody, you want them to instantly recognize materials and parts. And as you can see, there's like, I'd say this would like be a jaw type structure, judging from the jaws on the side. And then again, it's being held by rope again, and then going underneath that, there is another layer of bones. On top of that, there's a wire with a necklace, like again telling a story, like he's been through so many battles and so many hunts that he's got so much layering of trophies, layering of materials that he gathered throughout his hunts. Like there's like 3 different types of layers. There's like the necklace, that underneath there's like a bone type necklace, and on, you know, on top of that, connecting the neck to the head, there's another layer of bones. Like it's almost like a tail wrapped around his neck, like almost like a snake. It looks like a, it was like kind of like a rattlesnake, I would say. And then it goes into like a bony structure. As you can see that this arm connects here. Again, the fit needs a little bit of putty work. But then again, like, yeah, this needs a little bit of putty work, but don't let that intimidate you. That's kind of normal for resin kits. And while we've done the body and the weapon and stuff like that, we're gonna move on to something really, really big. The base. And the base is consists of 2 pieces. Let me start with the bottom one. The bottom piece is one giant collection of skulls and bones, and he killed humans. There's animal skulls right here. There's like a giant bird type skull. It kind of looks like a bird. I know I'm not familiar with bird anatomy, but that kind of looks like it. Then there's like bones right here, and then this amazingly sculpted, beautiful alligator or crocodile skull, and then it transitions into human skulls. Then there's like an animal bone, and then what kind of looks like a spine. You really gotta, there's the Narin sculpt signature, signifying, showing you that it's an original piece. All of these tiny little details right here. And then you can see the giant peg hole right here. And that's for this bad boy. I think this is the way he's supposed to. That's the way he's supposed to be. As you can see, this piece makes the base even bigger. This is one giant skull. It looks like a dinosaur or like a giant monster from an alien world. It was definitely not an Earth-like creature, but it's kind of like a dinosaur skull. It goes on top of the other base like this, and you can see how big that skull is compared to the human skull. This base skull compared to his own skull. That's incredibly big. Then I think this goes there and that goes there. Let me try to figure this out. Yeah, I think this is the way to display him. And this is also one of the reasons why we definitely want to pin this model. If you look at it, he's balanced a little bit. He's being held in place, but it's not like a solid. It's not solid enough for us to display this on a desk or like a cabinet. So we definitely want to, you know, start to pin this model. And as you put pieces on it, it starts to become a little bit more unbalanced. So that's why we wanna pin this model. As you can see, the main body parts are not the issue. Where the challenging pinning part is gonna come into place is when we're gonna attach these dreads and the mandibles. He's got a lot of dreads, so that's gonna be a challenging thing to do. Hopefully we can do that tonight. Hopefully I can show you kind of, guys, how to go about a piece like this. Process of pinning is going to be basically the same as my previous videos. It's just a little bit more complex because there's like two base pieces. We want to pin those as well. We don't want those to kind of... On the other hand, I don't know if I need to pin this base to that base, but I definitely want to pin the legs to the base, because even though they seem like they have like a strong foundation, they still have a lot of wiggle room. You don't want to end up in a situation where somebody bumps the cabinet or the table that it's standing on, and then it has too much wiggle room and then it still falls off. I recently had like an accident with one of my 1/4 scale statues where I thought it was standing solid in its base, and then it turned out to be, I don't know, nobody was bumping the cabinet, nobody was even near it, and then suddenly I was doing something and then it fell down by itself. And you just do not want to end up in that situation, because I will have to redo the paint job because it's damaged. It fell down, it hit other pieces, it's scratched now, so I need to do the paint work again, and which is like, yeah, it's disappointing. So that's why we want to pin these models. That's a lesson learned. Why I didn't pin that model specifically, I don't know. I just didn't get around to it. But that's basically why I said last stream, that's why I want to get into the habit, buying a model, unboxing it, and then immediately start to pin it. That way, when you decide to display it, when you decide to put primer on it, it has display value. You can look at it, you can, you know, put the pieces on top of each other, and you could get a sense of what the statue is going to be like. And that way, it's not going to fall down and, you know, break itself, and, you know, at least get it out of the box, man. Like, it's such a bad habit, man. Buying, you know, $300-400 statues and then leaving it in a box. I've done that myself. I'm even doing it right now. I've got 2 other Narin pieces that I received like months ago. They're still in a box. They're still in the bubbling wrap. I still need to unbox them, which is going to be an interesting video, of course, for you guys. But for me, I'm like, why am I leaving them in the box? I need to get them out and display them. And, you know, that will trigger me, motivate me to pick up the paintbrush and start painting.